The horses reached out to the kids in particular and the young adults. You know, the curiosity to be around them. And then when they get close to them, obviously they were always tentative. Oh, it's such a big animal. But once they realized how kind and gentle, the old adage, the old cavalry adage is that the horse is man's most noble companion. And I mean, they, like the dog, the horse has been with us side by side as long as they've been around us. I know Christopher Columbus or whoever it was that brought them over from Europe originally. The Indians didn't have them originally over here, but they are a treasured companion once you get close to them. So I mean, I get what you guys are saying, you know, and it's pretty. I rode a horse everywhere instead of a bike when I was a kid, you know, and to see us all go through the town in Colville, you know, the kids on bikes and I'm in the middle on my horse, but they always were connected to that horse probably better than me most days. But so, I mean, I see this. So, I mean, I'll just interject on the side of that. I can see the relevance of it. And Gene's I've elaborated many times that our mental health is a big challenge in Iowa and across. We just got to be able to figure out ways to make sure we're spending the dollars wisely, and if this is a worthy investment.
Well, and it falls into the challenge, and you and Dawn have talked, and we've all, you know, what the state haven't taken over, that raises a whole new funding situation. So that's why I wanted Dawn to be here to hear this presentation, because that's where the funds, you know, will probably more than likely be more funneled to. Because the county no longer really has any purse strings attached to public health or mental health. So, but this is excellent information here for us to look at.
Well, we wanted to give you guys lots of handouts so you can see exactly what our vision is, what we're doing. This last one that I'm giving you is kind of just projected expenses, salaries, and what it would take to kind of run this facility and keep it up to date and like operational from day to day. We kind of broke it down into monthly and yearly. And really what you're looking at is when it breaks down, this is based off 11 months. You would need 3.5 therapy hours per day, 5 days a week to sustain it and to keep it operational. And if you're looking at 3.5 hours a day, that's not very many. You're looking at a couple of patients a day. You're gonna serve way more than that off of all the.
So would your therapist be on call, or, you know, how would that work?
I'm envisioning,
Okay.
if it takes off the way that I'm envisioning, it's gonna be just like any of the other mental health facilities where they're always there. We're 8 to 5. This is what we do. I think initially it's gonna be that it's gonna take time. Word of mouth has to travel, just like any business.
New business.
But my vision is once it's up, we should be able to be 5 days a week, a full business, and keep it sustainable that way.
Have you seen any of the financial documents from like these other 10 entities, just to see how they are? I don't want to say profitable, because we're trying to be a nonprofit.
Nope. The only one we've reached out to that way and talked, because none of them else have called back, is Timber Creek, and they are non-profitable. She said, we don't do this to make money. We are getting by every year living off of the charity, the donations. I think they do an annual charity drive that's huge, that pretty much takes it for the year.
And if they generate enough money over the top, then they do like a free service for somebody who doesn't have insurance or can't afford it.
And do they get any funding from their county board, or?
I never asked them that, because right now, the main thing that she said is we do an annual charity that raises over 100,000 every year. And so from that, they're able to maintain most of their stuff.
So they do a big fundraiser
to
on
keep
an
it
annual basis.
On an annual basis, but then they also bill insurance. And she was the one that said, I think on the one, do not do Medicaid and Medicare, because she goes, that can get really sticky and they can come back in 5 years and want that money back. So she said, go straight to your regular insurance. And then the patients that cannot, you might do like a charity option where you're going to, if you're doing an annual charity and you have money stuck away, you can help these people by paying for that service out of the donations.
And traditionally, you know, our board on Rolling Hills, services, they fund services. That's kind of what their mission is, you know, to actually, you know, have funds for a bricks and mortar that, you know, we wouldn't have any ownership in, is a little bit more tricky for us as a board. So, you know, once they're up and running, we we help with services. So I see that as more of our mission. If I understand this money would go towards actually building this building, is that correct? So that might be a harder challenge than actually, supplementing the services, because that's kind of the way we're structured a little bit, but it's definitely a very worthy cause. And we talked, there are kids that have been attached to an adult, and the adult for some reason moves away from them, and they don't understand why.
Yep.
We talked to.
Mr. Mulbauer, you had some?
On that point, Gene, I think there's two ways of looking at it. I understand that with Rolling Hills, it's the services provided. I think the idea here is you get the brick and mortar structure up, that the services are the sustainability of the whole program, that they won't come back year after year after year and try to ask for money to keep it going.
That's exactly right. We're not
So your
looking for
50,000 is an initial startup, and this isn't.
That is to help us get to that 100,
Yeah.
because once we're at 100, we can go after large matching grants.
Mhm.
So
We
we,
don't plan on,
this
coming
is
back
not
every-
coming back to you guys annually for donations. The thought is once it's up, the people will come and it'll be sustainable that way.
And I haven't had a chance to digest all of this. Are you guys a nonprofit organization, and you're,
And go ahead.
what kind of organization are you?
Just 501c3.
Yep, we have all the paperwork, all the
Right,
documents done in that
And it's
way.
already
I see
filed
that.
that way.
And once we get it up and built, we shouldn't have to come back, because like I said, we can do those fundraisers that Timber Creek does, and.
To keep
we,
it up,
yes.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
And then there's also those grants that help with operational costs, and they can help with salaries that way. I don't foresee that
Yeah,
as a need down the road. It's mainly get this building built so we can serve the people in our county.
and the cost to build the building, have you
Um,
digested all of this?
you are.
I see it right here, 510,560 is the total cost. You already had the land given to you, in-kind donation.
And Bottom Builders already priced it all out, so they're 500,000, that's a projected for the building, included the cement, the labor, the plumbing, the electrical, all of that. So really, it's just to get the building up.
I have that before we can start the
Okay,
service.
anybody else have anything? Gotta kind of get our agenda rolling, our crowd's building.
That's all right.
Great
Appreciate it.
information. to
Yeah.
have.
Thanks for your
Thank
time,
you,
guys.
and this will be seriously considered, rest assured.
IT department.
Robert and Megan, thank you.
Thank you for coming up, guys.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Megan. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Jack, we'll get to work.
Yeah.
Okay. Discuss take action authorization letter to allow Tom Medide, Associated Engineer, to represent county on the tower leases. Okay, this was the, Dwayne, do you have something for us?
Sure. Back in November on the 15th, you guys approved appointing or putting Associated as their tower lease consultant. So this is just a written document that authorizes him to do that. So when the different leasees come to him, he can say, here, I'm the lease agent. It doesn't, it does not representing you as far as signing. When there's anything that needs to be signed, that will come to the board to be signed. But he needs something to give, to Verizon or AT&T or whoever that says I'm the authorized agent to do this. So, and county attorney looked over it and didn't see any problems with it. So if you want to give Ty.
For our new board members, could you go over his prices again?
You visited with him, Ty, on the phone, didn't you? And I was thinking you guys had the board had circulated a email outlining
Can you find
those,
that,
but
Cal?
I
I
do not think I ever was in on that.
Okay. And then maybe, I didn't know if you had something to say
Yeah, and
there.
it's only if you have a new lease negotiated and
This-
gets paid.
And for your information, Craig, if negotiate or to take information from these people that would like to be on our towers. We obviously got 4 new towers coming on, and then there's already been inquiries about being on those, and the Space Needle out here has already got quite a fill of stuff on it, and there's renegotiations to be done with these people. Some are necessary, some aren't. This will be our resident expert advisor for those types of things, somebody to basically negotiate on our behalf,
Contact person.
bring things to us for approval. Give us a professional
Lease
voice.
negotiations, new lease negotiation, $2,500, and lease renewal negotiations, $2,000. And if he fails to come to agreements on a renewal or negotiation, it's, I think he just said that an hourly rate, so.
For what he's done.
Because that was one of our questions, what happens if
Yeah.
you negotiate?
Well,
Does he
well.
also not just negotiate, but do companies come to him and say, do you know tower space available? Is that part of it at all, Dwayne?
Could you repeat that? I
What
didn't-
does he have contacts that are coming to him as well that say, hey, we're looking for tower space that's available?
He may have, but.
Which,
So I guess what kind of push this is Verizon wants to update their array on the tower out here. So in order to do that, you have to do what's referred to as a structural analysis. So there's a computer program, you remove the old equipment, install the new equipment, put a 1/2 inch of ice on it and blow a 70-mile-an-hour wind against it and see how much movement there is, kind of in a nutshell. And so he would do this with his software to do that. And then he charges for that. So we want that done because if we allow Verizon to change their array, we want to make sure it's not causing any additional stresses on our tower.
Because they will come in and, I'm sorry.
And they're doing that right now with Verizon. So what will happen here is he actually billed Verizon $2,400 on our behalf. The check will come to us for him to run that analysis. So when he's done, then Verizon will pay Crawford County will pay him. So it's not really a lease negotiation, but it's a structural analysis done by an engineering firm. That,
And I think we could bill always like that.
yes, and that's typical, because keep in mind, and I don't think you guys heard the last couple of weeks we talked about this, that he works for Crawford County. He doesn't work for Verizon, AT&T, US Cell, Sprint, whoever. He works to represent Crawford County. So that's why it's important that we pay him and not the company. So, and again, basically this just gives him the authority to negotiate if they ask for that, a letter of that.
and every lease we have is extra funds in our pocket that'll bring down our costs for our
Correct.
system.
It's something we need to do, because I've already been getting pinned about the company that wants to, this is a board of supervisors, it's just kind of a real good deal, so we can occupy our tower space, or those are towers that aren't even up yet.
Well, this and their engineers too.
This is a gentleman that, you just refer him to that and say,
Yeah. This is what you
every
talk-
bit of space on them towers is a value to, if they're in the cost of making money at their business, they need to pay accordingly, in my eyes. Once they take that space up, they eliminate somebody else from occupying that space. Tower can only do so much.
Ms. Hayden, you have anything?
No,
And I'll just go on, is, you know, when we've did stuff on here, we've had to do structural reinforcement, correct?
So, yeah, when US Cell came 3 or 4 years ago, we had to do about $150,000 reinforcement, for lack of a better word, program on the tower. And Tom engineered it and oversaw the construction of it. And US Cell paid for half of it and AT&T paid for half of it at that time, because AT&T wanted to redo theirs, so.
So I think if you look at it, having an engineer on that, it's probably always gonna look after our interests, where I wouldn't say that the company wanting on wouldn't look after our interests, but if they don't have to pay for something, I'm sure they don't want to, but we'll know what we have to do then. So I think it's probably a necessary expense. So I'd entertain a motion to sign this letter of authorization.
make that motion.
Second.
Gene and motion by Hayden, second by Mulbauer. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed by no? No? Chair votes aye.
I'll forward it to Terry and she can put it on your stationery and get you to sign it.
Okay, thanks, Dwayne. Okay, we've got a recommendation for elected officials compensation board. discuss and take action. Those that are here, we're hustling along, had a long list today. Everybody got that piece of paper?
Yes.
Oh, mine, there it is. Have to move that auditor back, I'm not allowed to read. Okay, as you can see here, we've got the current salaries. Thank you for printing this up, by the way, Jean.
I carried it.
Terry, okay, well,
Yeah,
thank you,
very good.
Madam Auditor, appreciate that. The recommendations brought forth by the compensation board were a 15% increase for the auditor, county attorney, recorder, and the treasurer, 7% increase for the supervisors, and a 26% increase for the sheriff. There's a reduced recommendation of 75%, which would bring it to 3.75 for the auditor, county attorney, recorder, treasurer, 1.75 for the supervisors, and 6.5 for the sheriff. Sheriff being hired due to the thought that we may have a little compensation necessary yet from the back of the blue bill that the state put out. After looking around a little bit on my behalf, I thought looked like we were pretty good with what we did last year. However, the compensation board seen that they should have a little bit more of an increase than the rest. So a reduce of 80% would bring it down to 3% for the auditor, county attorney, recorder, and the treasurer, 5.2% for the sheriff, which would bring him at 92.9, we're just 93. And the supervisors at 1.4, which would bring us to 31,189. So anyway, do we have any motions or discussion?
Does the compensation board give any reasonings for their recommendations or any?
We do have one of our representatives here, if you'd like to solicit his opinion.
Would you state the question again?
I was just asking, is there any, what's the reasoning that goes into your recommendations? If you gave a recommendation of 15%, why did you come up with that, or how did you come up with that?
We examined the county's similarness and population all around the state. That's a printed document, comes from the treasurer's office. We're also asked to consider the highway patrol commander out here, the city police. And this is mainly over the law enforcement part of it. And then we look at the prevailing wage for these type of similar services in the county, considering these are managerial, and that's what we look at. Since this back to blue bill came out, I mean, Colin stand behind me here, but I believe the wording is that you shall increase him 40%. And as a compensation board, we had a lot of trouble with that. Because that's taking it out of our hands and taking it out of your hands. It's a overstep from the state as far as I felt personally and everything. And after this is all, the dust is settled over all this, when I get a chance to get to their ear, I'm going to talk to them about it and say that at the time that was done, it was kind of the thing to do. But I think now it's served its purpose, and you guys have to do the budget. And unfortunately, I represent the five of you. I stood up and said, you're getting the smallest raise of them all. I thought that would set them up. So if you're unhappy with that, I can be replaced.
Oh, we're very happy with your efforts.
Is that too much?
No, thank you. I was just curious, I guess.
That's.
Mr. Chair, I
Mr. Mullen.
have a question, and probably more for you, Colin. Legally, that back blue states shall get up to 40%. Where does that truly leave us at?
The language in the back of blue bill requires the compensation board to make a recommendation, bringing the sheriff's salary specifically up to a level comparison to 3 different positions: administrative state patrol, administrative DCI, and then police chiefs of similar cities of similar size of the county. Easy example would be Johnson, Iowa, is a city similar size of Crawford
Not
County.
anymore.
Okay, well, it used to be. Last time we did this, it was. It might have grown since
It
then. But
has, the latest.
Please let the floor speak.
And so the language is shall for the compensation board. It does not tie the board of supervisors' hands on what it shall ultimately set the rate at. But the compensation board has to pass a number out of that committee, out of that board rather. That is a number in line with those 3 marks. This year, if I recall correctly, the rep for the sheriff picks our local state patrol administrator, Lieutenant Borelli, and they determined that increase to be 26% from his current salary. So the law requires the compensation board to make a recommendation considering those numbers.
And for your information, all of our, for Craig mostly, I would assume Dave remembers that when we lower any of these, or if we would lower any of them, they all have to be lowered in the same fashion. I mean, that's generally speaking,
Except ours.
except ours, yeah, we
Cut ours down.
can,
That's in there, whatever, yeah.
there's only 5 of us, so it ain't gonna make a lot of difference helping pay bills, but it will, help set precedent with that. But anyway, that's how that typically works, okay?
I got a question for Dean.
Yes, sir.
During the meeting of the compensation board, it seemed to be last year, the talking point was we were going to use the Denison Police Chief's salary as a comparable.
Yes,
And that's when they came with the percentage they did.
yes.
And after we settled, we were still, what we settled for was higher than what they hired their new police chief at. To me, that, in my eyes, that said, well, you've already accomplished your goal of what Iowa code back to blue law. What was the discussion in regards to that? Dean?
The
Was there
discussion
any-
was the information he had was erroneous. The discussion that had been given to us about what his compensation for the city police chief would have been. And they, when they made their hire and they won the present one, they negotiated lower salary.
Thank you, Dean.
Thanks.
It's
Any
a fair
other?
question, The only thing I'd add, Mr. Chairman, is, and county attorney was there, we had four motions, I believe, or more on the floor, and we couldn't even get a second. That is how many times we made an effort to, until we finally got what we could live with here.
Mr. Mulbar?
Chair, I do want to bring up too, one thing that was brought to Gene and I's attention when we attended the District 3 ISAC meeting in Storm Lake, sitting down with our legislators, and we had a legislative forum. One of their top priorities this year is tax cuts, property tax cuts. It's kind of puts us in a awkward position, or could potentially, we don't know what that's gonna look like. You don't wanna get the cart ahead of the horse and promise things we can't provide if the state cuts back what our tax revenue base could be. So that's something I think, going forward, as we weigh these numbers, we have to keep in the back of our mind that that's the top priority. And Gina, if you have anything to add to that, but.
That was a takeaway, definitely, that we don't know what our funding for our county is gonna be in the next couple of years, and we get these wages up, what comes up, what goes up does not come back down, and so our fear would be that we would have to possibly have services that are disrupted, or have staff have to be released, because we can't, if we're not getting the money we're used to, it's going to cause a big problem. The other thing that I was going to add, and I pulled out my notes from last year when I spoke with Steve Holt about this back to blue. He, education for some of these jobs that he was wanting us to compare it to has to be considered. He said it's not comparable if you have somebody that has to have a master's degree, that's not really a comparable job. And let's see, you have to look at comparables to police departments. But like I said, when we originally did this, Johnson was the only small town that had a chief of police, and they're now, since the last census, has gone up to 19,000 rather than the 17,000 or 16,000 that we look at. So that's kind of off the table of what we were compared to, because that's the other challenge we had. There's what they had us compare it to, they're not really comparable. And so, the compensation board's done their recommendation, and now it's up to us to decide what works in our budget, so.
Is there any reason that you have to decide today?
No.
I guess.
No, we don't.
No.
We can do it over.
Yep.
We do need to be able to give some advice to our department heads on, you can set in something in your budget. And I will say that to the department heads. You can set something in your budget. If you want to estimate high, you're sure welcome to. I mean, and then once our numbers come in, you can go back and readjust. I mean, we've got a few months or a couple months anyway, to work on things. I don't believe this will take that long. But considering some of the things that they just brought up, I do believe that this board really wants to put some serious thought into this. I am not in favor of the state telling us what we can charge for property tax. Our taxpayers push on us hard enough, and our own sense of obligation to be frugal is already present. I don't like all the overreach. It's just like with the back to blue thing. You're forcing us to pay more on one hand and telling us we have less money on the other. So I would like to drive down there with a new pair of boots then, and a few points on the end of them. And
Last year, we used the term unfunded mandates.
yes, ma'am, we did. So we've got some things to discuss, and we've got some other issues in this county that are obviously serious questions to be dealt with as well. I don't ever want it to be thought that we put a hasty decision forth before the board on the welfare of our employees. I think we've got an excellent benefits package. It's one of the things that isn't always discussed when Dean and those are sitting down there. At least when I went down and watched one, and I never hear anybody bring that up a lot, that's the benefits packages, and Gene's really good at figuring up them total dollar amounts and making sure that we're all remembering what our county really does receive. We've got a really good benefits package compared to most, we're really good, and compared to some, obviously, that have a lot more money, we could probably be happier with more, but we don't have near as large a purse. Mr. Mulbar?
Mr. Chair, do we have any figures yet? Typically, I know Chuck has put some numbers together for us with Dwayne, as far as what our tax revenue is going to be for the upcoming year,
Yeah, I don't,
or increase or decrease. Dwayne, do you,
I know that,
valuations of went up
yeah,
again.
well, the valuation didn't change a lot.
Oh, they didn't?
But, the rollbacks did, so, or the taxable limitations. And I know Terry worked quite a bit on it. She might, was it like I don't remember what the growth was, Terry.
And I don't remember.
It was-
It wasn't as much as last year, that's for
Right.
sure.
Because the year before that would have been a revaluation year.
You guys said something out.
I think we sent it out to everybody,
I thought you
actually.
did, 'cause I seen something in regards to evaluations.
typically, I mean, if you can live within that growth without having changed levies,
Yeah, but I
is
was-
manageable.
Mhm. So I would say that we could table this for today. If that's what everybody's looking at, or what would you, is there a motion on?
I'm in favor of tabling.
Okay, well, that's what I got, the impression I was getting here. All right, so we'll table the compensation board discussion and evaluate things a little closer with our revenue stream, and this will be tabled. Probably next, I'll figure it out in a little bit. Resolution, elected officials compensation board. Okay, and that'll be tabled then as well. Anybody got any disagreements with that? Obviously, if we haven't,
Question, Mr. Chair, you're gonna, as you stated before, let the department heads figure out themselves what to put into their budget for next week.
Yeah, I mean, we could state as much as, I mean,
Give them some direction.
do we, is there a specific direction on an amount, 50% of what was suggested? It'll be less, it won't be more than that, I would say. If they want to figure that into their budget for the time being and then make an adjustment accordingly afterwards. Everybody fine with that? How's that, Mr. Mulbar? Department heads catch that? Thank you. Okay, that's tabled. All right, resolution for the 2023/8 vacation and closing of streets and alleys to the original town of Kenwood. Thank you. Mark.
Sorry, am I taking? up
Nope,
the whole
you're
thing?
good.
I'm sorry.
Counselor Sybil, if you would address the board, I'd appreciate
Oh,
it.
sure. I've got the resolution and the quick claim deeds that were previously sent out.
It's on the agenda for action.
Yes, that, just looking for that. And I would entertain any questions anyone has.
Well, we had the public hearing last week
Yep.
with no opposition in regards to that, and you guys already crossed your Ts and dotted your Is on this, so I think there's no sense, lack of better words, ripping this dog anymore. I think we're ready to move forward with this.
I'd make a motion that we take action with resolution to vacate and close the street and alley to the original town of Kenwood.
Mrs. Hayden makes the motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Schultz seconds the resolution. Any further discussion?
No.
Did Madam Auditor, did we receive any other comment communications? Okay, thank you. Mr. Schultz,
Aye.
Mr. Mulbar.
Aye.
Ms. Hayden,
Aye.
Mr. Dozer,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Kenwood is gone. It's now a memory.
I'll be able to sell a house.
Yeah, then they can sell their home. Okay, next on the agenda is the resolution. We're really getting close to you guys. Sorry, Steph. Resolution 2023 assigning, what's the acronym is kicking? Tax certificate, 13104760001 to Roger Water.
Amended resolution.
Yes, okay, so Sherry, our lovely treasurer, always brings over the packet so that our office then prepares the tax sale deeds once all the required notices and everything has been done. And as part of preparing the tax sale deed, we ended up having an issue with the legal description, which then Mary in the auditor's office tracked down for us, because between the recorders and I, we were having troubles as well. So as part of tracking down that legal description from Ken Call, it was noted that it was for fiscal years 1982 and 1983. However, in the packet from Sherry, there was a certificate, which is the underlined -B, that referenced tax year 1981. And so this just goes back and clarifies that the board, in reaching the resolution for the settlement of $1,000, meant to include 1981 as well. And so that is what this does. The resolution and amended agreement that were sent out have the underlined information that is new. It's not saying that Roger is going to pay additionally to the $1,000, but he would have that additional $10 assignment fee for that second
So
certificate.
that's why one of them was for 1,010 and the other one I think was 1,020.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Seems pretty routine.
Okay,
We were glad to catch it so we could get it cleaned up, because
Yeah.
eventually clearing titles, someone would have to go back and tidy this, so it just made more sense for us to get out ahead of it.
It's also a resolution.
it's also a resolution, yes, ma'am.
Make a motion that we reassign that. Is that what you call it?
Motion has been made,
Second.
second by Mr. Dozark. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. So in resolution, Mr. Schultz,
Aye.
Ms. Iden,
Aye.
Mr. Mulbauer.
Aye.
Mr. Dozark.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Resolution. Discuss, take action, CDC board budget. There we are. If you guys would all like to come forward, thank you.
You're finally up.
Thank you, Counselor. We appreciate you.
Yes, I'll go make those changes and bring it.
Thanks.
Morning.
Morning.
Everybody ready?
Yes, right there.
Just here for support.
You know how that works, right?
Yeah, a little closer.
Okay, the CDBC board's coming on behalf of us to address budget concerns that they have. So I will, Mr. Menlick, I offer
Yes,
you the floor.
Jay Menlick, I'm president of the Chamber, or Chamber Development Council this year. We have been diligently looking to replace Evan for the executive director position for the chamber. We got notice of Evan's resignation at the beginning of October. And we have gone through the process of marketing and advertising for this position. The position right now that we have been marketing for, the salary range was from $50,000 to $70,000. We had the committee that or basically that they all presented themselves as interested in being a part of the committee is Steph Weiss, Aaron Muck, Clay Adams, Ty Rosberg, and Taylor Burkowski, Dorhout, and myself, just to manage the day-to-day to keep us on task. So we received about 20 total applications from all over the United States. We received a handful from in the area. And so we chose our top 5 applicants. We brought those top 5 in within the last 2 weeks and did our interview process with regards to the top 5. The 3 that were in addition to 2 of the obvious applicants that are working in the chamber currently. We picked an additional 3 that were outside of the area within about a 45-mile radius. None of those 3 did any homework on Denison. None of those 3 did any homework on our Tri-City Barbecue Fest, on any of the doings of what we do here in Denison. They did no research on us, period. And so it was a little disappointing with regards to the process in its entirety. I think what was enlightening out of this entire process is that the 2 ladies that we have in our chamber currently, Shani Bonner is our tourism coordinator, and Mariah Nutt is our office manager of financial matters. We found that they're both very, very strong in each of their positions. Neither of those 2 have any economic development experience. And so as a hiring committee, our focus has been to try and push for some experience in the economic development, because we want more, we want to attract more businesses to the area, whether it be in industry or retail, because obviously every year we peel off a couple, we gain a couple, and it's our focus as a group to bring in, some bigger industry, no different than what Knoxville or Marshalltown is doing currently. But in order to do that, we felt like maybe we're not, our hiring salary piece wasn't high enough. So we reached out to James Holscher, who is director of the Institute for Decision Making for UNI. We had a conversation with him via teams this morning, and he kind of reinforced the fact that on average, you know, our economic development salaries are anywhere from about 75 to 87 across the entire state. And so today I was, you know, we had our meetings with, we finalized all our meetings last week. Ty said on Tuesday, I think we had to have to be a part of this meeting and bring some information to you. We had to make sure we were a part of the agenda. And so last minute we got on the agenda. And so, yeah, I feel like I'm not, you know, as ready for this meeting as I probably need to be or want to be, but I thought I'd give you guys an update as to where we're at and what our focus is kind of moving forward. You guys are talking about the budget. There's no money tree to be had. We all know that, right? So, and to be fiduciary for our community and for our taxpayers, it's of utter importance. But we also want this community to thrive and you know, be readily available for our businesses as we pursue forward. And so in order to do that, we want to attract somebody who has this experience. What do you want to add, Jason? Yeah.
You know, I think if we really want to attract somebody and to do the economic development piece of it, that is what we're missing. We have some really good talent in the office right now, and with Evan leaving, it leaves a big hole with economic development. We know that as we stop growing, we die, and so we need to continue to grow. And if we really want somebody that's talented in that, we're gonna have to pay for it. And so knowing that it is going to take us some more money to do that, and you know, we know that everybody's struggling with money. We all, the hospital is, everybody is, we're all struggling. Our expenses are up and our revenues are down, and we're all in the same boat. But again, in order to grow, you have to pay for it. And so, you know, we're really looking at options on where we can come up with a higher salary for this executive director position, so that it makes it so somebody who has talent will actually apply. We did not get that this last time. It was very disappointing. There was some potential out there, but again, when people are interviewing and they haven't even researched our community, that's completely devastating. Like you really don't have interest. You just want to apply for this job to say that you did, or you want an executive position. We want somebody who will be vested in our community and wanting us to be successful. And we need help with that. Because right now with our current budget, we cannot make that happen. It's just not possible. And so you know, this isn't our only stop. So please don't think that we're just relying on the county supervisors for help. We are looking, we have multiple ideas, but we do need your help. So I guess that's how I would put it.
And just to kind of reiterate, our plan is to go back to the drawing board. You know, we looked into the recruiter type of situation for this position. What I found out is I reached out to a couple different ones. The one that in particular was from Burlington, and he said normally it's a 2% salary. 2% of the hiring salary is what they normally get. And so if we're at 70, you're talking 14,000 to have him conduct his services and go through this entire process. I felt like with the power that I had on this hiring committee, I really thought we could find somebody. We're gonna go back to the drawing board. We're gonna up on some of the marketing and advertising pieces that we didn't do initially, because we were trying to watch our P's and Q's and watch our dollars. But now knowing what we know, we're gonna have to spend a little bit more money to boost, you know, the Facebook posts and the Indeed posts and the LinkedIn posts, get out to a few other sites that we didn't initially get involved with. But in doing so, we also thought that the hiring salary needed to be bumped, and so that's kind of where we weren't sure if there was any movement in your guys' budget to help us out. So we wanted to find out what that looked like, or if there was a possibility of any sorts prior to really posting this out to the marketing side of things before we make that final decision.
The type of people we're going to get at 70,000 is way different than if you're posting it for 90.
So is 90s kind of where you're gonna go? That was
You
gonna be my
know,
question.
Jay has a bunch of information of not local, but similar size.
Yeah, Mount Pleasant they're hiring from 60 to 90. Stewart was at 48 to 58. Mid-American Energy is looking for a similar position to 98 to 115. Duluth, Minnesota was in that 65 to 75 area. Again, Iowa Economic Development, ZipRecruiter is saying on average about 75,000 across the state. And salary.com is saying about 87. So if you convert that, you're looking, about $42 an hour, 37 on the low, 48 on the high type of deal. Beyond that, in our findings with regards to the tourism coordinator, we felt like her salary was a little bit on the low end. And I know we've had some concerns with regards to that position, and we've done our homework and done our due diligence behind the scenes to clear some of that stuff up. And we feel like with our human resource, we did some policy change with regards to our benefits and our policy guidelines. And so I felt we cleaned that piece up now. And so, but in our conversations with that person, we also found that I don't know that we're going to find another person that is as vested as she is to be a part of this community and really wants to be here, but also loves her position. And so why would we try to get rid of somebody in that position or try and replace that position? For that position, you're looking at an entry level at 32,000 is about $15 an hour. And so that's what she's being paid right now. We'd like to push that up to about 42,000 as well to mirror the financial piece of that as well. And so in our findings, that was in our entirety, that's kind of what we're looking at. And again, you're not the only source that we're coming to. We're looking for possible sponsorships to help with this matter, because this is an important matter. We need to get it right. And that's why, we have the heavy hitters on this hiring committee that we do. These people hire and they also fire on a monthly basis, and they know the ins and outs of this process. We knew it wasn't going to be easy, but in the end, we're going to do whatever it takes to get this right. So I promise you. And so I don't know if Ty wants to chime in a little bit. You've been a part of this process. You've seen what we've gotten accomplished, what we haven't gotten accomplished. But the process is the process, and it's a situation that we don't want to be in, for obvious reasons. But when we have a position like this that presents itself, we got to solve. And so that's what we're doing.
So Jay, just want to clarify one thing. I guess you said that the recruitment firm would charge 2%.
2%.
And you said at 70,000, it'd be 14,000, and that's only 1,400. So is it 20%?
Oh, yeah, sorry,
20%. I was just curious.
Sorry. It was 20%.
Okay, sorry.
I was gonna wonder if my turn out to get it correct.
Is that only if they find a hire?
That is, yeah, there's a 3,000 to 4,000, 3,000, 3,500 upfront, non-refundable. And then if they're placed, basically then at that point, they get the rest of the commission at that point. So.
Well, I've got a little bit to add. Some of these candidates that we had, I think that are brought to us by these headhunters. I mean, I really think that's because we had astronauts or people from NASA anyway, and Clay brought it up right away. I mean, are we sure all these are even real people? And so, our 20 may have been a lot lower in reality. I mean, it was pretty disappointing for all of us, I think, and we really put a lot of time into thinking what really created this to where we didn't. Our two best candidates were the staff that's already here. I mean, they prepped better. They understood the place, though. I mean, the questions that you'd ask about our community, they already know. So, I mean, they had an advantage in that regard, but in turn, we made a few of the questions harder. And that kind of weeded through, what their abilities were too. And I would say that we've got a great staff there with a lot of potential, especially with the changes that Jay listed too about things that have been concerns of this board's in the past. We're gonna miss Evan. He's educated himself to the place where we really need somebody starting. We're living in a time where everybody's screaming for the next business to move to their town, and they want the best businesses available. And I've told this board that I've actually spoke with Shane Smith, the CEO of Smithfield. We need somebody like Evan that can sit in a room with him and throw back as hard as he's gonna throw at you. That's gonna be hard to find, but we gotta get as close as we can to that person, not only to bring in new business, but to keep what we've got here. Our housing's a serious issue. I've spoke with Evan about a couple potential little things that we could do that I think would work pretty good. And there are obviously housing groups in the area that are already working on it, but you need somebody that's actually focused on that. And while we would sure like to keep Evan, he's actually got different things he's got in mind now. He's a young man, so I sure wouldn't want to stifle him. But
Last time you were called that, Evan.
hey, you're welcome. You've got a lot less platinum than I do, pal. I'm gonna tell you. But he's also said that if it takes us a little longer, he is gonna be in the area. So, I mean, I certainly appreciate all the things that he will do for us, but I think that what Jay brought to our attention is that the pay is probably gonna have to go up. You know, we're gonna have to surely ask for more, you know, or solicit more. And that'll require some help from not only the people that are part of the CDC, but from our tax asking entities. Because we were just talking about taxes recently, you know, or in the meetings today about, you know, the ability to draw new taxes. That means we've got to draw a new industry or a new commercial to town and be able to work on things, more housing, develop our community, you know, so we really need somebody that can step in here with some fresh ideas, but also with the same enthusiasm that Evan's presented over the last 10 years. And then the knowledge that hopefully that he has now, this person can just step into the job. And all he's got to do is tutor him on the basics, or her on the basics of what we actually presently got going. And one of the reasons that we think it's important on the tourism side, and we talked about this heavily too, is Shaney does do quite a bit of it for you, I believe, you know, and helps you out significantly in that. And can you imagine the Tri-City Barbecue this next September if Evan and Shaney aren't here? We're gonna really be working Mariah to death. Now, there's some great volunteers on that, present company included, but I mean, it takes the people that keep it, that have already got the wheels rolling on next year's, you know, and we've already been discussing some new draws even, and some things like that. So, I mean.
And to add to that, sorry to interrupt,
No,
but,
please go ahead.
for Craig's purpose and probably Dave's purpose, on the tourism side of things, I think we received $42,000 from the city in the hotel motel to help with that budget. And so Shaney's salary does come out of that, and then the county kicks in $7,500 for the tourism budget only. So there's a 49.5 total for the tourism budget only. And then you guys also kick in 50 with the city for the economic development side. And that's what our history has been. And so just to lay the groundwork.
You say 50 with the city, that means each?
50 each,
50.
that's 100,000, and that is exactly 40% of our total budget. So the remaining 60% of our budget is received from sponsorships, donations, and membership drives.
How's the membership been?
We've been pretty solid here. I think we
Around 200.
Yeah, total.
Yeah.
And so, you know, every year's a little different. Might gain a few, might lose a few, but I mean, as far as I can tell, you know, even the last 5 years, I think we've gained more than we lost. So, but it's always just dependent upon the economic environment. And, you know, I think we're all into that point right now with the inflationary period we're finding ourselves, a possible recession that we're looking at. We all, you know, need to kind of look at what this future is going to behold, I guess. And I know with your, you know, you guys are thinking about the budget right now. I guess this would be the best time to just make sure we're aware if there are extra funds available. We would greatly appreciate any efforts that you guys could push towards in our efforts.
That was one of the things we discussed, you know, at our last get together, is that the board is going over budgets now, and the gravity of the situation, I think, by getting the main cogs of the board, you know, the people that are doing the hiring committee right now, I mean, by them showing up here, I think that shows the gravity of the situation. So I thought that was important for you guys to be able to hear that, and so did they, obviously.
Yeah, and just to, I mean, not to toot our own horn, but I was talking to him here this morning, and I just asked him, because I wasn't aware of exactly how many dollars that the Tri-City Barbecue Fest brings into the area. He said that's $1 million venture for the area. Now, we had to subtract out the.
Yeah, we use the state of Iowa's economic impact model for a tourism event. We haven't done it in a few years, like maybe 2018, but I'd say fairly consistent. It's probably grown a few percentage points each year. This last year was a big jump, but back then, just for reference, so you put your spending in there, you do a survey for a number of visitors, whether they're inside the community or they came from, you know, many miles away. And kind of get that radius figured out as well, where you're drawing from, do that. So you take all their spending, extrapolate that out over the estimated number of attendees, and you end up with that total figure of what was spent because of the festival, and that exceeds $1 million. That's not our local impact though, because we pay bands quite a bit of money, we pay a stage company quite a bit of money. That doesn't stay here. So to be fair, you gotta subtract all that stuff out. All the food vendors that are not local, their take, we know what that is. It all runs through us, you gotta subtract all that out. Then you end up with what's called the net direct impact. So that's new money that stayed here because of the festival, and as we know, that recirculates around the community up to 10 times. That's $350,000 back then, so now it may be $400,000. That stays right here every time it goes to that event, so it's an excellent investment.
And it seems to be very popular, although getting and gaining more popularity. I mean, there's people trying to solicit and copy and.
Yeah, one more thing is the summer events that Taylor Bukowski has been kind of managing for the Uptown as well. He's been working with Clay Adams from Wesco Industries. Clay, I don't know if you want to chime in a little bit about how those have gone here this summer.
I think what we saw there was we took the formula that Evan and his group came up with the big barbecue fest. You can't have 12 barbecue fests, obviously, but you can have a lot of little ones. And what we saw there was taking that formula, proportioning it down, it was really successful. Give people an opportunity to come eat, drink, listen to some bands, gather, shutting down the Broadway there really is a formula that works. They're new, and there wasn't a lot of advertising behind it, but it still brought in 800, 900 people for every event. Wesco has a business on Main Street with the bake shop, obviously, so we had a pretty direct line to see, here's what we did, when that event comes, that's what we did. And it rose significantly for every one of those events. And so I know when anybody comes to ask you for money, those of you that know me, I'm very fiscally conservative. I don't like spending money. And so our job is to make sure your return on your investment is there. And I really believe that the direction Denison is going and the county is going is we don't want to falter right now. And so we've got some indicators that are showing that the formula works. And now we just need to push it. But in order to push it, you gotta have somebody that's gonna be able to do it. Paying our tourism coordinator $15 an hour, and you can walk into Walmart and get 20. We're not gonna keep her very long. Same with the director level position. Evan's done an incredible job for us. Moving forward, you're gonna get what you get for 50 to 70, and we saw 20 qualified candidates. And so in order to maintain that momentum and to build on it, to return on that investment, is where we're gonna need, you know, probably in that 90,000 threshold in order to keep it going. So there's a lot going for this right now, and all of us would really hate to see it falter. And so we're not done to just you guys, you know, we're gonna approach several different avenues for funding, but obviously you guys are a key important player. We respect your budget, and we need more money, bottom line.
And to add to that, you know, as the hiring committee was talking and as we had our interviews with Shani and Mariah, we thought we'd bring that recipe out to the county to try and bring them and get them more involved with the Tri-City as well. So you could probably see some kind of hybrid of that going out to the Manilas and the Cairns and the Charter Oaks of the world, so that we can, you know, as a community, as a county community, we can enjoy you know, the festivities that we provide to the area. Just so happens Denison is the hub of where this all happens, so, but it's our focus to try and expand on that and kind of move forward, so just keep that in reference.
Thank you. Anybody else got? Right?
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming today. It is a discuss, take action, but we'll discussion primarily. So it was listed as take action, but we'll table the rest as we're working on the budget.
Yeah, I'll keep you posted as to any insights or updates that we find out as we go through the process.
What's your timetable, I guess, moving forward to send back out?
Well,
as far as-
Evan is with us through the end of March.
Right.
And so I'd really like to get this done before he leaves. You know, I know his time's gonna be, you know, questionable after March 3rd or 31st. So it would be, you know, I think we're ready just to you know, after the first of the year might be a timing thing with regards to Thanksgiving and everything else that we had. You know, after the first of the year, dust settles, you know, people know where they're at and they might be looking again.
I mean, I guess from a time frame perspective, meaning that if you want to go back out with a new $90,000 salary, are you waiting to hear back from all of us to see if it's okay to go out there and advertise at 90?
Yeah.
Or are you gonna go out and just advertise at 90 and see what kind of responses you get, if it even changes from, you know, from the salary that was lower?
I mean, we have reserves that we could tap into. There's, you know, we do have that.
But you are waiting for a word back.
Yeah, we would like to hear back, and I think, you know, if we're gonna get the word out as quickly as we need to and want to, we're gonna need to know, you know, one way or the other, whether you're in or out. And you know, what that looks like, I guess, kind of pursuing forward. So if I could have, I don't know what, you guys just meet once a
Every Tuesday.
every Tuesday. So like within the next 2 weeks, if we could get something ironed out by, you know, by the third week in January, for sure. At least we could get this marketing pieces out and really hammer it from kind of moving forward here, so.
If I may, I know the talent hunter, headhunter, because he's contacted me before in the past, and I was really impressed with him. And I think if someone like that, doesn't have to be that gentleman, but someone like that put to work with the right salary range, you're gonna find the person.
Well, ideally, we could scarf somebody out of one of these communities that are doing well, whether it's their second charge or something.
Yeah.
That'd be ideal. You know, a Sioux Center, you know, places that are really rocking it right now that understand the more rural agrarian community, you know how to make that work. I mean, that's where we're shopping. So it is important. I mean, I sure didn't want to make it sound like we didn't need to move something to them soon, but you know, I mean, I think the support, if we're looking for growth, that's what we got to decide. I mean, if we want this, you know, I'm a businessman, and it's as simple as this. If you're not growing and moving forward, you're backing up, and then you're in retreat, and eventually you won't be here. So those are, and in these times, it seems like we might all be in retreat, whether we want to be or not. But you're still pushing forward and trying to find better ways to make it work and find the resources, whether it's money or whatever, necessary to make this a better place. There are communities growing right now, and that should be us. And I've sat with these guys, and not to blow, you know, I don't want to embarrass anybody here, but this is a bright group. I've been pretty honored to sit in a room with them actually and watch them work. So I think that we've got a capable group, as Jay pointed out, to find the right person. You know, it's just giving them the tools to do it, so.
Don't bring them down.
Don't bring them down. Well, I'm trying to stay quiet as best I can, but you know me.
Thank you so much for your time. One other, and I don't mean no with disrespect, but it seems like every time we meet with CDC, we just continuously hear about Tri-City Barbecue Fest. I'm from out of town, and it's a great event, and I don't wanna just take that away from it, but how does all the time and effort that's put into developing and putting that production on really help the county? I know Evan said your $350,000 probably stays within the community, but has it ever drawn any new businesses, or can somebody maybe meet me for lunch or something and explain that to me. Cause I mean, that really maybe help my decision making going forward.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make them coalition this.
One of the things, obviously having the business up there, and I've been in private business for a very long time, is anytime an event comes through, I like to walk the streets and look at license plates. And I know, and generally you walk today, you're gonna see Crawford County and some items from Carroll. When there's an event, you're seeing Potawatomi, you're seeing Des Moines, you're seeing Sioux Center license plates. And so
Nebraska.
they are coming in. One of the things that we have our bank shop crew do is talk to people. Like you have to engage in conversation with them, and especially, it seems like in the last probably 12 to 16 months, people are saying, we came to check Denison out, and they are not from here. They're from different counties as far away as, the Tri-City area. And so events are bringing people in from other areas. Other counties, I think, are coming to see Denison. And like Jay said, one of the things that we'd like to do is take the success of what is the Tri-City Barbecue Fest and don't just rest our laurels there, is replicate it. Do some little spin-offs in these little communities, have them do, maybe some sort of chili cook-off or barbecue cook-off kind of to kick off the main event. And so it's starting to spread that same formula to other communities as well.
And it's not our only event, but it's our largest event.
Right, no,
And so that's why we always put our feather in our hat, because it is one of the largest events and most successful events across the state.
Pretty big feather to
And
put in
so,
the hat, and I
yeah.
applaud you
And
guys.
so, when I was hiring this lad right over here, 10 years ago, when I was on this committee, and we were doing our interview process, that was his mindset, is we need something to replace the Donna Reed Festival. And this is what has come to fruition out of that little creative mind that he brought to the table. Did he have economic development experience? No, he did not. He was working for Blue Space Creative across the street as a graphic designer, but he had creativity. He had the want. He had the passion for the position at the time. We were looking for website capabilities and more marketing capabilities at the time, because we were hiring that outside of the firm. And so I just felt if we got it all in one when we hired him. And so, as we go through this process, I was hoping for that similar type of situation. And we talked as a group too, that, could we do the silos of, tourism manager, finance manager, and then economic development manager. And we just felt like we gotta have a leader that's making the hard decisions and also can focus, the attention of the group as a total in the right direction. So not to over-explain, but that's kind of what our thoughts were about the situation. So I think we have a breakdown of the listings of things we do throughout the county and throughout the area.
Every year.
Yeah.
Kyle, it's a fair question. I just want to point out, that's tourism, which is one part of what we do. It was beyond the tourism impact for me. I think when I started, I heard too many people being down on the community that they lived in. And so to me, this was a way to bring people from all over the US onto the street, and they're sitting there saying, wow, what a cool community you have here. In my mind, that was more important than the dollars that it brought in, was if it could boost morale and show everyone, hey, we can all work together and achieve something here. So I think it's just the first step of many things to come. I hope it continues for a long time. But that's just the tourism side. I mainly work on the economic development side and the chamber member side. The economic development, we've assisted dozens upon dozens of small businesses with coaching, helping them get access to capital. We manage a loan fund that has helped dozens of businesses get started. We also sponsor businesses to go to the Region 12 fund. $4 million, I think we've pulled into this.
I'm never gonna discredit your efforts, because I've been in contact with the one from Monona County, your counterpart, and you're light years ahead of that gentleman, which he's just recently started over there, so. I mean, he's got a long ways to go too,
No,
but
you're right. The barbecue fest, it kind of overshadows, because that's what everyone knows, they can go to it, they can stand in it and participate with it.
Touch it.
They don't see the housing developers that we work with, they don't talk to the small businesses we've assisted, they might, but they don't know, you know? They walk in the door, but they may not know what we did to help them. They may work at Quality, now it's Monogram, they may work at Monogram, who we assisted to get many hundreds of thousands of dollars of incentives for their expansion, or the dry ice plant, we got them $1 million in incentives with just your baseline incentives as a county. People are working there and spending their paychecks in the community every week. So people don't stop and think about that because it's behind the scenes, the work that we do there, but
That's what I
they
wanted
see
to
the
hear.
barbecue fest, so that's what they associate us with, which is fine, but there's so much more. And as Jay said, we submit our list of annual accomplishments to you guys every year, so take a look at that.
And one last thing, I guess the one fundamental thing that we got accomplished this last year is the Ignite Denison office space. And so if you haven't had a chance to step in when you get over to City Hall, take the door just before you get to City Hall, and you will be very impressed with what we've gotten accomplished. It's at first glance of when you walk into Denison and you walk into that office, it proves that we're here. We do mean business when you come into Denison. And, you know, the first impressions are everything. And that office is gonna pay dividends long-term. And so I think we're 275, 300,000 all into that building and its renovations. And so it was money well spent. We're not quite done yet with the basement for the incubator space for some of these smaller businesses to be able to start up and have the internet capabilities and phone capabilities. So we got a little bit more stuff to get accomplished, but the fundamentals have definitely been set, and now it's time to keep pushing on this side of things. So, and with your help, we've been able to do that. So I thank you for your support and appreciate any insight or resources you guys have available to help us keep pushing forward in the future. So.
Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Anybody got anything else? Good question. No, we're good. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Have a great day. Happy New Year.
Thanks, Deb. Thanks. Thanks, Evan.
Guys.
All right.
All my paperwork today.
We're almost to we're only an hour behind, so.
It's okay.
Citizens input.
You are.
Ty and I met and we set the conference board meeting at the last Tuesday of the month. I believe that's January 31st.
Yep.
Yep, at 5:30.
Yep.
So you'll be getting a state and then eventually you'll be getting a budget packet in the mail. So just give everybody a heads up on that. One more thing, if you got a minute. When Supervisor Molar asked the question earlier about, taxable value and so forth, I just want to mention that a couple weeks ago, I know Terry had several long nights, I'm sure that when she's studying it. So kind of in a nutshell, what happens is we send our assessed values to the State Department of Management. Terry goes there and gets them and then has to apply, for instance, the rollback numbers or the rollback figures, which are state order rollback or assessment limitations, however you want to look at it. And those change every year. And yes, you punch them into the computer program, but you also have to have the wherewithal to look at those numbers and say, that's right or that's not right. Something's messed up here. And so it's not simple by any means. And everything has a different rollback. Ag has a different rollback, railroads have a different rollback, residential. This year, the multi-res, if you remember, came from commercial of 90% down to the same as res. Well, this was the last year of it and it jumped from, I believe 67% down to 56%.
Right.
So it lost like 11% on all the, we've got a lot of apartments and a lot of multi-res, pardon.
It follows residential.
And so now it's the same as res, which I'm sure they're gonna lower their rents to reflect their
Oh, sure.
lower taxes.
Yeah.
That's a personal opinion of mine, but, and she also has to look at the state credits and the exemptions. And there's state assessed properties, the railroads, the utilities, the pipelines. There's a lot of stuff there, and Terry often doesn't get credit, and I know during the time she's doing this, since I do my assessor budget direct with the Department of Management, I get emails saying, you know, the taxable value for Crawford County is available or has changed and things like that. So I watch that as I'm working through my budget. Naturally, you know, it comes up. But I know Terry had several changes in it, and she had called and asked me a couple questions and emailed for some things, and it was obvious she was under some stress doing it. And so she kept her cool, and we talked several times, and I guess I just want to mention that, you know, I give her a tip of my hat that she stayed at it. She made phone calls, she asked questions, and she figured it out, because it is not a simple process. It's very important because it affects everybody's budget. You know, if you mess up or don't mess up, you know, it affects everybody. And so it's, again, it is not simple, it's complicated. So I meant to say that some time ago when Dave brought up that earlier. I was like, you know, just so everybody knows, it's a hard task. It's not, you just don't punch the numbers into the computer program and, you know, and say, hey, that looks good. So.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Dwayne. Anyone else have anything for citizens input? Dan, no, Jerry, no. That would bring us to the end of our meeting. There's a motion on the table to adjourn and a second. Mr. Dozart. Wait a minute. We're gonna have
What is these?
It is the
so
recording of the resolution
what are-
that was done.
she's just here to get papers signed?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, then meeting.
I'll sit down even.
Kyle, one of the things that we were actually discussing to link the Tri-City to the other communities, is like during our achievement days, have a cook-off and have a local competition here at this one that starts out, you gotta qualify at each of our communities to get to it.
I guess I was getting, when I was asking that question is what Evan exactly said. All we ever hear about is Tri-City Barbecue Fest. That's all we ever hear about.
So what else
And
are
they
we
come in
doing?
there and say, give us more money, we need to hire somebody, so what,
But
they
yes,
can
Brad
have a
Nelson
bigger
has said that Roger
Tri-City
was
Barbecue
starting
Fest?
today.
What
That's a
Evan
great point.
said is what I wanted to hear from somebody, other than,
Yes.
Okay.
because every comment was made was in regard to Tri-City Barbecue.
I see what you were asking.
I know what you're asking.
Right, I knew what you were asking.
I did too. I did too. I've always talked about that.
You know, and if that's the whole makeup of what their focus
Yeah.
is that having that barbecue festival, why don't we just hire some company that promotes, a promoter and have, but,
Oh, I
I
get it.
mean, what Clay said was, yeah, other people coming to visit.
Right.
I'm a notary. So
Have-
Drop some cash.
Oh, cool.
Through that, though, has somebody said, you
So
know, what, I like that and so much,
multi-talented.
I'm gonna come over here and help.
So much fun.
Yes.
I
Evan
know.
touched on some of it directly.
But part of that always has been for me, wanting to know what the bottom line of what CDC got to keep. You know, I understand that the hotels and the, you know, gas stations and used to be the restaurant. But
Go ahead, you do
we
yours. I'll
should
do
be
me.
starting to have
after.
some money that goes
I'm so
into a
sorry.
kitty. That's our seed money for Barbecue Fest, that we ended up with a
Just the one?
profit. You know, when's it gonna start being profitable? It shouldn't be against a profit.
There's a bigger discussion about that now. I keep pushing that at the board.
Okay, thank you.
Exactly, I agree with you.
Really,
Yeah,
you just
well,
want
they
free
bring that
lunch.
up since
No, I'll
they-
buy it, I'll pay for my own. I just, for 8 years, I struggled.
You guys didn't eat any of them damn donuts.
Oh,
I'll do my part. I'll do my
Grass,
part.
the whole,
right.
are we there to?
And consider some in-house salary, before you, hand out money for other people's salaries, if you don't mind.
Well, that's my.
I mean, you know, we haven't
I get
taken
it.
care of ourselves yet, and just saying.
I would
What do we
encourage
got
them
there?
to, put a proposed budget together, 'cause if they need additional 30,000 from us to pay for this. I mean, it'd be nice for them to have it in writing. I
Well,
guess,
you
because
know-
I'm not just gonna throw out a number, say, let's give them 80,000 this year. And then they go to the dentist and say, Crawford County, they already paid for it all, you won't be on the hook for anymore. So,
I think,
I thought, maybe I'm way out of line. No, I get the part of it probably cost more to
That's
get
a
them.
pretty good bunch sitting right there.
yeah, it is. There's
Well, I'm
no
not
doubt about
discrediting it.
it. No doubt about it.
I don't think that they're, just say, hey, we want you to pay it all. I think that was the point.
You gotta advertise these things a little more, I guess. I didn't see them until now.
Well, sorry, I brought them in there, set them down, and then forgot to say something.
Well, you got,
Hey,
got road all over, you could have had in your little.
Well, I did that Friday already.
Could have had in your little.
Here's a damn
purse.
donut right there on the top
By
of
the
the
way,
board.
there's donuts over there in the box, amen.
well,
Thanks for the donut.
Yeah, you're welcome.
where'd they come from?
Ivy,
It feels pretty heavy.
probably got a little something in it.
Good.
Well, when we were sitting there talking at the last hiring meeting, they were going over their, you know, when was the last time they got a raise?
Every year. They get a raise every year.
From us?
Oh, I thought you meant.
Is that what you're
Oh,
saying?
okay,
From
from us,
us?
no, 50,000. is what-
Hasn't
And
been
we
that
took, and
long
we
ago.
took
I
some
remember.
away, they were 50 and 10.
I remember I was 40,000.
Oh, hell, get her,
Got it woke up, no, that served its purpose, you'll never hear me argue that.
yeah, if you just keep giving it and don't ask for anything back in return.
And I think that work woke that whole board up. And you know what, if you'd have got to watch her interview, you'd have said, this girl's got potential, somebody just needs to keep a boot.
Well, that was kind of part of it too. She did have potential, but I also just, I think.
She interviewed the best of everybody we talked to. She blew us out of the water compared to the rest, and I mean, literally, mind you, because she didn't have any experience with development.
But neither did Evan when he came to them.
Yeah, but I think at this point in time, I don't know,
Jerry
that-
said that.
I don't think that, it was probably, their primary was getting some kind of tourism thing going at that time. And also the other thing that they're wanting to do, I guess he didn't bring it up, but we talked about having a send them, you know, like we go to school for ISAC. I said, do we send them to any kind of development thing to learn how to be better developers of our community? So they're actually looking into getting like sponsorships from the
Now you
businesses.
think some of those Western Iowa tourism or, that they would have.
There's actually one that Steph brought in that's actually about economic development itself, and
You think Region 12 would have something too?
yeah. And like I said, I've been working with Chris on doing some more stuff with our towns and be able to bring things like this up where, listen, go over and tell them that you want to participate in something like that. You know, let's get this. I think it'd be cool to have a local cook-off, whether we call it a chili cook-off or it's part of the barbecue, you know, but you can make it part of the event for tourism. Is that gets people out to look at our communities, you know, brings them all part into it anyway, so then they'll show up, or, I don't know. I think, the thing I've been chasing more is the business aspect, pushing, you know, I actually, that's what I kept saying to them the whole time, I said, we don't need another tourism person. We got Shani there, if we take care of her, she'll stay, and she can keep taking care of that, and she's getting better. But I said, we gotta have somebody that can sit in a room with Shane Smith, or whoever the hell owns Monogram, or that type of a person, and talk somebody into why they want to be in Crawford County, because the first thing that Shane said to me is, I can't run a plant with 1,000 people. The second thing he says, where do I build a big plant? There's nothing flat in your county. I said to him, there's nothing flat in Milan, and they managed to build a plant down there. I said, where there's a will, there's a way. He said, yeah, but he says, where do I get them 1,000 people? I said, you build it. This is Iowa. You build it. They'll come. That's what we do here.
Yeah, where do you get 1,000 people? Where do you get the 60,000 head of pigs you need every day? They're right here.
Yeah.
They're here.
Well, that's the thing is
You own half of them or 3/4 of them.
I don't know that right now, due to the way the financial world is, they're probably not looking to build right now. But they're gonna build a big plant up here in the
Get a straw.
Midwest.
How am I doing on giving that sugar?
Get a straw.
And that one for
eat around it.
The only thing that might change that, push it off a little further into the future is if, since they closed that one in California, they're talking about maybe something up in Utah and Idaho area.
Just think though, now the federal government, the EPA, now I still don't understand how they can do that. As when they overrule President Trump, like him or not, the EPA overruled his Waters of the United States Act.
Yeah.
So now we're back to every time the cow pisses on the side of a hill, somebody's got to monitor it.
Yeah.
If it runs down and gets in the water, out in the pasture,
Yeah.
that could pollute something.
Because where else?
So I
is it
don't see
supposed to
how
go?
a federal, I don't see
What am
how
I doing sitting here?
the EPA can
I'll walk
overrule that.
outside.
Jared brought you,
That
you
shit
didn't
needs to
trust
be
you with
real.
the car.
I don't see
That'd be like-
I don't see how the
that'd be like
FBI can
coming
be
in
talking
here
to
and
Twitter about what they should or shouldn't put on.
That'd be like Evan
There's a lot of
coming in here
shit
and
going
saying,
on in
"You are
Washington
giving me a
that makes
pay
you
raise,
scratch your head.
and this is how much it's gonna be."
Yeah. Yeah, hey.
Oh, yes.
You're living in an interesting little world right now.
I don't know. I should have counted how many times through the conversation, they said Dennis, do this with Dennis. Excuse me. And somebody pinch them every time they say that, so they just say, for the county.
Had to tell them.
But maybe we need to have a
You just say it, they need somebody here, they need somebody from here that gives a shit about.
Oh, I know.
Well, I would think so.
That's what they need. I mean, they're looking for some accused professional person. Those people don't wanna live in small town Iowa.
No, they wanna live in the suburbs. They wanna be able to go
Right,
to
they wanna live in
Where-
Woodbine. You
Who do we
know,
got
Town
local,
nice.
who do we got local to do it then?
I don't know.
I don't know.
See, that's the thing is nobody.
I bet you do. You just don't, that person just doesn't even know that,
They wanna do it.
right?
Well, we can find them, I'm in.
I don't know.
But, you know, that's the things we talked a lot about.
Maybe they'll for the right
Cause I
money,
think people
maybe
think that position is something else.
they'll-
You know what I mean?
On the surface, I'm probably not the only one that looks at it and says, well, it just, all you do is order straight to barbecue. But maybe for the right money, you'll get the Jessica Garcias or something
I
that,
already tried her.
well, I'm just saying, but that was at that price tag. That you had said, that maybe that's the right price
She's got some
tag,
things she's doing at the school, which that's gonna benefit the hell out of us
but
too.
maybe they'll,
They may actually end up with a
because I
damn
think, I just use her as an example, because I think
very,
quite a bit
whatever
of
you
her
call it.
as being highly. Oh, good luck.
Yeah. Well, it's too bad they couldn't use some of what Job Corps has up there for how, like that single parent dorm, which they don't, I don't think they have anybody in single parent dorm anymore.
Yep, they're,
Why isn't WIT, you know, making some kind of coordination with Job Corps?
they probably could.
I know.
That's a good point.
Jessica doesn't know that? I
Yeah,
bet she
no,
does.
there's an interesting.
She's pretty sure.
There's an interesting tidbit. I heard somebody in here a year or so ago talking about how it was at a school board meeting, whether they're looking at developing. And they wanna have a ag program for the community college. They wanna have a county farm, a farm where,
Oh, for
I think we have one.
those youngsters to farm,
I think we have
that'd
one.
be nice.
Yeah, you mean to go out and learn on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we do have one.
I think, Dallas County,
Do they?
DMAC uses their farm.
Oh, really?
That's what I'm.
They have a county farm there.
Yep, DMAC uses Dallas County's farm.
That'd be cool.
Gotta be more to it than what we have right now.
Is that something you could use whatever ARPA funds we have left to help?
What's that? Yeah,
this
that's
year?
what I would suggest getting some from.
Yeah.
We need to have one of them meetings. See if
Well,
we
that's
have
just
any
it.
money
I don't
left.
know if there's any left.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
know.
depends on if we.
Depends on if that wellness thing takes off or not.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to get their ducks in a row pretty
Yeah, pretty
soon.
quick.
Well, they had, looks like,
Otherwise, we're gonna need to spend it somewhere else.
looks like the city, did we get what, to 2024 4 or 5, didn't we put some stipulations on that?
They have stipulations on that.
We just have 300 and some thousand. that they're trying to-
Oh, I heard you said about the city's purchase.
Why don't you just go to Florida, where you got, I would, especially this time of year.
Oh, he's upset about our purchase of the city center?
No, city purchasing ground.
Oh. Hell, Cecil gets upset about a lot. He was upset about the city center down there.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Let's shut this off. Hey, I got a question for you. Whatever happened to our green lights that we're gonna put in all the windows?
Well, it's over. Yeah, we had them up for Veterans Day.
Oh, I thought we were just gonna leave them up here.
Well, yeah, I have to go by a lot of hours. They weren't as effective as I wanted. Because our windows have a little bit of tinting, so if you look for them and you need to already furnace on them. Does that make sense? But you know, Dave is gonna talk to. Outside television outside. And you can get the lights where you can change the top program them in different colors. And the city used some uptown to light up the mural.
Yeah.
And our electrician did it. And so we found them online that you can either put them on the ground and beam them up, or you can put them on the roof and beam them down. But
See,
when
that's
it's
where
nice
it's
to have
kind of, because there's.
Because we could do clear colors.
Actually,
Light it up at
it's
night.
not a course,
And then change it to.
you know.
But they're leaving us in limbo anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, the way mental health is.
I know.
Yeah.
But you know,
You are speaking, you're singing to the choir.
thank you for talking about horses.
Oh,
I think
You know,
you
sometimes
just,
when you come and fall and stuff.
That's the way we've been, that's my
You can see
thing.
the flagpole and a little bit of the courthouse as you go in. So-
well, I got choked up there a little bit.
I kind of do too.
We
when
don't
we
see
talk
it in my
about
house.
something,
Yeah,
you know.
and you'll fix
I was
it.
in the courthouse.
Yeah, but the lights aren't unstable.
There's our budget. That we said we would do. They just have, I gave everybody one, everybody kind of.
Oh, this is for our, okay.
Right.
Thank you very much for doing that.
For sticking my mouth out there and saying, no, I haven't done it. So this is what I was lying to her, I haven't done it.
Well,
You know,
Oh, we gotta come down.
so I'm gonna put my
We need to
numbers,
get
I
together,
have
see
kind
what's
of
hard
put some
for
numbers, but just like everybody else, we don't know.
I
what's
told
gonna
Gene, of course,
be
I mean,
because we don't know. what's
I
gonna
have
be.
to stay in.
So I gave everybody this pencil and an eraser.
Okay.
to work
That
on.
wasn't easy for
I'd
him.
rather, no, I'd rather give
With
them,
the amount of work that they've
I'd
done.
rather give them money than send it to Rolling Hills and just blow it.
It stays local, you
I
know,
know it.
exactly.
We have more bang for a buck.
But our, you know. We're just starting the budget, so we'll see.
I just said, I'm proud of them for going down this road than anything else.
Yep, it's.
They could have easily fallen apart, marriage, whatever, but
Hey, you have some family to do. Good for them.
sorry for being late today. It's just make the roads, which I should have.
We'll make
I won't be
it.
late again,
Okay.
for a while,
They won't report you to,
for a while.
they won't report you to our boss.
It was Ryan Renzi that called me last night. You know Ryan? Scott's his dad,
Yeah.
Steve and Brad's brother, they feed cattle right next to us.
You bet.
We're real close as he called me. I am on the highway, I can't get off. He goes, I don't shoot my pants, I slid back
That's
down
why I
that
gave you the
hill.
pencil and the
I
eraser.
blew across, where you in the ditch or you wrecked? No, I'm just on the road, I just stuck.
Can't do.
I said, can I come get you? No, I either salt or sand. I said, I tell you what, I'll call Paul. or-
Do what we did,
Proceedings are, that's us.
Yeah, I tell you what though, you
Newspaper
know, I know
ads.
Paul, it's easy for him to
Stay
dismiss it,
pretty
but
much
you know,
the
you're
same.
moving
A
hogs.
lot of this stuff just kind of.
You got new
stays.
pigs coming in.
So it's-
Well, that should be.
Sounds like it's pretty easy, but
it's
that
just
plant
a
now,
principle.
now, sometimes they
I mean,
still
'cause
need them
our
yet this
budget's
week, but
pretty
other
simple.
times, you
Yeah.
know, you're
So
a
we don't
small
have
producer,
shit,
you
yeah.
might be screwed for a while, you need them pigs on that building. for the hog
Okay.
barn. You know, so I mean,
Was
there's
this
a load
for
of
me?
pigs on its way in.
Everybody
Right.
copy.
It left Oklahoma, it was beautiful weather. It's up here, it's on sheet ice.
So,
So
Got 200 head of fats.
chains is
Cattle.
one thing. I carry chains. I actually threw them on in a nice storm
Okay,
down in
Jerry's on
Missouri
his
one
way.
time. So I mean, but not all these guys do it. Tell them to throw chains. That's easier said than done.
Right. And I know too, like Ryan, I was going to Skyler and coming back, I thought I was gonna beat it. Just got caught in it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just it. You don't know. They could have not set up till after midnight.
There was somebody on the Zoom that I don't have a name for that says they want some extra paper, so there's some interest
Oh, that's
that, yeah. Oh, Jerry's here. I'll give you a breakdown of where we're at with the ARPA funds, just kind of how that works, because what we did is we had.
Give me one of them too.
Breakdown of ARPA, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I need to
Just
know
gonna
where
make
that's
5
at.
of them.
And when do we start putting the heat on the new project? To say,
Well, we
hey, we
have-
need to know something.
We have to get the,
We hate to lose all that money.
We can spend it.
2000,
No, but I mean, because we waited to the last minute and then all of a
Well-
sudden that don't happen.
well, when do you want to go tour it?
No, I was talking about your rec center.
Oh,
How are they doing on that? We haven't heard lately.
I didn't go, I had the flu the last time that they had one and they wouldn't do a Zoom. They're still plugging away, but that
Okay.
$30 million is just, you know, when you talk to the financing people separately, they're like, we can't raise that kind of money, you know? So it might have to be downsized. We will have one. It just may not be a sports complex with a indoor soccer field with a glass hallway leading, you know, and 2 layers of parking lots and the seniors, you know, they're kind of pitching a bit about moving up there, but you really want to know why? They gave that building to the city for $1, so they wouldn't have to pay taxes or do upkeep. So the city owns that building. It needs some repair, but their biggest complaint is that they're making money by renting that place out.
See, I thought it was the parking is what Ron
Well,
Saunders said is that they like the parking and the access.
They didn't even know the plan yet. The biggest concern was they rent that out and they'll miss their income because they said, well, we still gonna be able to rent the new
Oh.
place out.
The senior center is complaining.
Yes.
They rent it out for
They
events.
like where they're at because they rent that out for quinceaneras, for funerals. When somebody doesn't have a church, they rent it out for birthday parties.
If it's a city building.
And it's a
already,
city building.
they
The city
probably should-
pays the
they're probably
insurance.
not even legally, should be able.
No, and that was all
Accumulate
news
the
to the
rent.
city of Denison when they announced that at one of our meetings.
Well, that will be in the people like Greg's ear constantly. Every time he talks about that now.
The
he'll think,
city wanted to give money back to the senior citizens, and that's a different story.
But what would they need to give them money back for?
What are
Because
they using it for
said
now?
just little fun things they wanna do, you know? I don't know.
Well,
I'm not on that committee
they
either.
just need to be as get their nonprofit status and have fundraisers on behalf of Friends for the Senior Center or something like that, where they can still
Something,
have fundraisers and collect that money
Right.
and legally hold it in their own account.
just so that everybody realizes that their biggest complaint wasn't really their
I'm gonna make
biggest
the girls
complaint.
eat these.
If that makes sense to you. Their complaint was, yeah.
I will see that today's kind of a crappy day.
Okay, no, yeah, Jerry's waiting out there for me now. I forgot I didn't have a car, so, yeah, call me sometime. We'll go look at it. We'll discuss some things and I'll get the ARPA funds. And if we can, if some things aren't gonna cost as much like the bathroom and all those things and there's money, absolutely, we should go back and revisit that.
See ya. We will.
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough.
What's that?
Cause I talked to Dawn, you know, this week about the stables for Jed and man. That's just so out of our wheelhouse to finance the building of a building when there's not even a service, you know, we gave money, I'm coming, Jerry. God, I tell you, I gotta go. That's just what he does. He rolls up and says, I'm here, and then he starts calling me.
You better be here.
Yeah, pretty much. But we'll talk about that.
All right.
The passion that we all have for it is one thing, but then when you really get right down to the nuts and bolts of it, I'm sitting here thinking if we could just get 50,000 to match so that they could start their grant funding and then Region 12 could roll in to help with the services once they're up and running. That's kind of what, you know, get them up and running. And then Rolling Hills could maybe kick in for the services.
For Dave's sister, you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
Always something. I'll shoot it, grab a coat. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Jerry, I'll come.
How are the roads? Other people. Hey. Say, do we got trucks going up to South Dakota?
I already canceled them.
Oh, you did?
Well, they still want me to go to Bryant, South Dakota for tomorrow.
Well,
Kind of hard to do when the interstate's closed though.
well, that's just it. Are they aware of that in Algona?
I told them, that's why they canceled the Weston.
So do they replace them with other hogs or just cancel?
They wanna see if I can get a truck over to Melvin tonight or in the morning, but I can't get a hold of William.
Imagine that.
And me and Garrett are supposed to go to Bryant, but
Oh, we don't need to put any in the ditch.
no.
Snow we can deal with. This ice shit sucks.
They're getting 15 inches of snow north of Sioux Falls.
15 inches?
Yep.
Is there wind?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to be there.
There's a huge strip there north of, between Sioux Falls and Brookings.
A big drift?
Yeah, and the cameras.
Oh,
I've been watching it all morning. They pulled up, all the snowplows are off the road there in South Dakota right now.
see, they need to have more flexibility built into their schedule where they're, okay, if we can't get to South Dakota because of a storm, what hog can we grab?
Yeah. They don't think like that.
Yeah.
That's funny though.
What?
So Tuesday, or Monday, they canceled 2 of my Melvin loads. Well, I think it was for this morning.
They canceled them.
Oh, you have to cancel 2 loads.
Why?
I don't know, they said they are gonna get trucks, to load them that afternoon. I'm assuming going to Sioux Falls, who loads in the afternoon to go to Crete. So they do that, I'm like, all right, whatever, I'll move trucks around. And I got 2 trucks that are supposed to go to Oklahoma, I'll just send them down to Oklahoma. He calls me later on, hey, you still have those trucks for Melvin? No. Then she called, well, that was actually this morning, she called me and asked if I had any trucks for Melvin. I'm like, no, you can cancel them, I would send them to Oklahoma. They're not anywhere nearby. Oh, okay. Well, then I called Keith later on, or he called me.
Yeah.
They canceled those loads, and then something got fucked up where they didn't have the trucks, and so they put the trucks back on there. And they, but then they couldn't get trucks, they canceled it again. Told the load crew there weren't gonna be any trucks there. And Krager had two loads there.
Oh,
They totally forgot about him.
forgot about getting a hold of him.
Yep.
Well, I tell you
He
what.
was calling them this morning, trying to figure out where the load crew was. And then they called me and asked if I was there. I was like, no. And then now they want me to get more trucks. Well, I could cancel that Wessington load. They want me to do a Melvin load instead. Can't get a hold of Numbnuts because he's been having truck issues.
Yeah. I'm not sure I buy that all the time. What a fucking deal.
You'll be bitching about money here shortly.
Well, yeah, it's his own fucking fault.
And then he still has that other truck just sitting there. Had a wheel bearing out, but is he gonna go get that fixed?
Nope.
So So is a backup truck? Nope.
He don't want a backup truck. He wants to be able to work when he wants to work. Yeah, I think he's got other things going on too. That's just a theory.
Yesterday he was asking me a bunch of questions about the truck. And
About what?
All the airlines and everything else, trying to get it figured out. He was showing me a picture of his motor. If I take this line off and a bunch of other stuff, so I know he's broke down. But I don't think he's got anything else going on. He just has poor maintenance plan.
I think he's an idiot.
Yeah.
Delusions of grandeur. Thinks he's got it all figured out. He doesn't have the small shit down.
He's gonna piss off a banker pretty soon when he can't make his payment.
Yep.
And he'll blame the truck, and bankers don't care.
Nope.
Because they'll probably ask the same thing. What about your other truck? Well, wheel bearing's been out. That doesn't take long to replace. Oh, you can change out that spindle and the kingpin all in one day.
Yep.
So I don't know what to tell her about that load, but
Well, too bad he ain't fucking answered. I don't know, if he's like me and he's out working on his truck, he won't have,
that just literally was about 15 minutes waiting on that, but
okay. Oh,
Lowe's already called me this morning, said they want me to go to that Lowe's, South Dakota load. Oh, William's calling me right now, speak of the devil.
hey, see that? His ears were burning. Get a hold of him. Bye. Oh crap, Dave, you're messy. Needs a little cigar box. Holy crap. Shell. Damn gals go leave it straighten up.
All right, how are you, Chad? They going north, they said